Hey Wargamers, today I want to talk about the Harpy out of the new Tyranids Codex. This is a unit that I was particularly excited for in the previews, and so let's talk about how it actually pans out in the new Codex, its strengths, its weaknesses, and how you might want to field it on the tabletop. Before we do that though, I want to say thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and hit subscribe, that way you don't miss any of my upcoming unit reviews or battle reports for 8th edition. Okay, so the Harpy had some pretty notable changes, primarily that it moved from fast attack into flyer. That's important just for the basic boots on the ground rule that we have now. It can't score objectives. If you only have Harpies left on the tabletop, you lose the game automatically, that sort of thing. So keep that in mind, that Harpies are not going to be able to do any of the things that they used to do in terms of scoring objectives and keeping you in the game. So that's an important caveat. Notably, they lack some of the benefits that other flyers have. You don't have any modifier to hit them or anything like that. So you hit them with shooting attacks just like any other unit, and so they kind of get the worst of both worlds in that way. They're just as easy to hit, and you don't get to score objectives with them. So that's kind of a bummer, but the Harpy still has some redeeming qualities. Let's start with its profile. It has variable movement, weapon skill, and ballistic skill at full wounds, which is 12. It has 30-inch movement, 4+ weapon skill, and 4 up ballistic skill. So it's very fast, and it has okay shooting, not great, but pretty typical for what we would expect there. Strength 6, toughness 6, 12 wounds, 3 attacks, 9 leadership, and a 4-up save. So it's somewhat durable. It has a fair number of wounds, but it's strength 6, which leaves it vulnerable to a lot of strength 7 weapons and of course strength 8 weapons, and it only has a 4-up save with nothing else to protect it. So this guy, if it is focused, will go down relatively quickly. It's equipped with 2 Stranglethorn cannons and scything wings. It can also take a Stinger salvo. Penvenen Cannon is range 36, assault D3, strength 9, -2 AP, and 3 damage. That's a really nice weapon, and this is something that I think really makes it an asset for the Tyranid army, is just having kind of this reliable strength 9 multi-damage shot. It's a niche that is only occupied by a few other units, and the fact that it's on a flyer gives you some mobility and some nice options in terms of taking out priority targets. So the Penvenen Cannon on the Harpy is actually fairly good. It has instinctive behavior, which is a downside, especially with that movement ability. It's going to often push its way outside of synapse range, but again, because instinctive behavior is so it's really not that big of a deal anymore, and also the range that you have to be away from a synapse creature is much increased. It's not going to come into play that often. If you're going to get out of range with some unit, it's going to probably be a Harpy, but even if that happens, it's not the end of the world. So not that big of a deal. It has a death throw special rule, so if it dies, it can cause mortal wounds to nearby enemies. And then the 2 special rules that really make this appealing, really are the things that are the greatest asset to the Harpy, are the Sonic Screech ability. It says when a Harpy successfully charges, until the end of the turn, enemy units within 1 inch cannot choose to fight until all eligible units have been chosen to do so. So basically, you can use this to allow all of your units to fight first in a given combat, which is really useful. And the Spore Mine Assists are basically a strafing run. So in the movement phase, if it moves over an enemy unit, it drops Spore Mines on them. And those Spore Mines can cause mortal wounds. So mortal wounds are always a benefit, and being able to deliver them at a specific target just by moving over it, taking advantage of that high movement characteristic, is valuable because it can allow you to take out very specific targets. It can allow you to snipe characters, for instance. Things that biovores can't target with spore mines, you can target with a Harpy. So the ability to target specific units with spore mines is a really nice asset. Not to mention if you miss with this spore mine attack, you set up spore mines, and those are going to be on units that are right in the thick of it. So placing spore mines in amongst enemy units really gives you some nice options for blocking enemy movement, dictating where they can and cannot move, and also forcing them to shoot at spore mines to clear the way. So the Harpy has some really nice options for disruption, both in terms of impacting enemy movement via spore mines, dealing damage via spore mines, and also dictating the flow of close combat by using that Sonic Screech ability. All these things I think are really nice assets for the Harpy. I think the obvious choice in terms of which hive fleet you might want to go with on this is Kraken. The reason for that is Kraken allows you to fall back and charge back in the same turn. So that means that a Harpy can charge in, fight, and then the next turn fall back, shoot, because it has the fly keyword. It can shoot those venom cannons and then charge back in again, and we get that basically continual benefit of having that Sonic Screech ability. So you can almost guarantee that Sonic Screech is going to be in play every turn that the Harpy is on the battlefield and not lose any shooting benefit. So I think the Harpy is actually not custom made, but it's very well suited to the Kraken hive fleet because you get all the benefit of shooting. You can use the spore mine sys when you fall back out of combat. You can use that ability to bomb things as it moves out of combat. You can still shoot, and then you can charge back in and make sure that all your other units are actually able to fight first, even without having to fall back and charge back in. So there's a lot of versatility built into using this with the Kraken hive fleet ability, or hive fleet adaptation. All that said, the unfortunate thing about the Harpy is its points costs. For about the same number of points, you can buy a Winged Hive Tyrant, equip it exactly the same in terms of having heavy venom cannons, and it's a character, not that really influences whether or not it's going to be targetable, but it means it can take bio artifacts. For Kraken, that means that you could be -1 to hit. You could take the chameleonic adaptation. But it also means that it's a synapse creature. It's not going to suffer from instinctive behavior. It has an invulnerable save. Being a hive tyrant, it can deep strike, so you get to choose when it becomes available for your enemy to fire at it. And it is a psyker, so you can smite and do effectively the same thing as you would with the spore mines. All that said, I think the Hive Tyrant is a better option to fill this niche than the Harpy. The one thing that the Harpy has going for it is the Psychic Screech ability, or Sonic Screech ability. And so if you weren't going with Kraken, then this would potentially be a useful thing. But if you're taking Harpies, like I said, I think you'd want to go with Kraken anyway. So it's a little bit of it's in a little bit of a contradictory space. For that reason, I think the Harpy loses out on a points-based efficiency system to the Hive Tyrant. Now, if you can't fit any more Hive Tyrants in your list, or you don't want to use them, anything like that, go with the Harpy. It's a cool model. It does have a lot of things going for it. It's just not quite as good as the Hive Tyrant. Still a solid choice, but not quite as good as the Hive Tyrant, which, by the way, can also hold objectives and stuff like that, which now, because it's a flyer, the Harpy can't. So that's what I think of the Harpy. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and of course, happy wargaming.